Welcome to the Business Blast Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner. This episode is brought to you by Authors Unite. Authors Unite provides you with the support you need to finish your book. Best part is, after you finish your book, they take care of the entire publishing and marketing process 100% for you. So, if you want to become a successful author, make sure to check out authorsunite.com. Now, let's jump into the episode. All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Business Blast Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner, and today I have John Demas with us. He is a recent graduate of the University of South Carolina, where he majored in business and minored in film studies. Professional experience includes product management, supply chain consulting, and logistics. So welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, Tyler.
Of course, man. Pumped to have you on. Always great to talk to a fellow Gamecock. So let's dive in, brother. The first one I got for you is, what is the best story from your life that has an underlying valuable message?
So at the University of South Carolina, I was a campus tour guide. So that gave me a lot of really good professional experience, kind of customer service stuff, and just really just kind of getting to know how to function, I guess, in a professional environment, and really how you deal with parents. I mean, you're really selling I would say tens of thousands of dollars worth of product when you're giving tours every single day to prospective students. So it's kind of a big marketing job. So one of the things that I didn't really realize is just really the kind of impact you can have on people when you're giving these tours. I mean, it becomes monotonous every single time you're giving a tour. You're saying the same things. You're telling the same jokes. Maybe sometimes they land. Maybe sometimes they don't. Sometimes you'll have crowds that are really engaging, and sometimes you'll have crowds that really aren't. And it really hit me how impactful sometimes you can be when you don't even realize it. So I remember one time I had a group of students and parents, and there was a dad on the tour group that was very stoic. He wasn't really he was kind of giving me just a death glare the entire tour. And I was like, oh man, this guy really doesn't like me. I guess he doesn't like my jokes or whatever. And I was like, man, this is a tough crowd today. And then at the end of the tour, he came out to me, shook my hand, said that was one of the best presentations you've ever seen. My daughter loved it. I really think she's consider going to the University of South Carolina. Tried to tip me, and I was like, sorry, I can't accept that. I would like to accept the tip, but I can't take the tip. And I was, it really just kind of opened my eyes. Wow, it's this guy who I thought wasn't even really vibing with my whole presentation actually took it really to heart. So I always think of that story, and I think of maybe if I'm not making the kind of impact I think I'm making, there's definitely people that take your message that you don't even really understand sometimes how deep it can go.
I love that, man. Thanks for sharing that with us. The next one I have for you is, what is the most valuable piece of information we should know that's within your expertise or industry?
Currently I work for C.H. Robinson, and we're known as a 3PL, third-party logistics. So basically that's a really fancy way of saying we're a middleman for the transportation logistics industry. So essentially clients will come to C.H. Robinson and say, hey, we need to move this freight from point A to point B. And that could be ground transportation, which is the segment of the market I work in, so mainly just trucking. But we do freight on the air and on the sea. So a client will come to us and say, hey, we need to move this freight. Then we'll have customer side of the business generate various loads and try to put them in the system and come up with pricing on all of that. And someone like me who works on the capacity side, as we call it, I'm someone that's going to fulfill those orders. So I'm reaching out to truckers and carriers all day. I'm trying to sell these loads and try to get them to do it for the cheapest rate possible. So I guess really the biggest thing to know about the industry is that the industry does exist, because I feel like a lot of people don't really think a whole lot about logistics, but logistics is literally something that keeps the world running. I mean, you go to a grocery store, all those products on the shelves had to really be planned methodically how they were going to get there. And even various events, even something we take for granted, like the Super Bowl. You see the Super Bowl, all these different tents, lights, chairs, they don't just pop up there. There has to be a concerted marketing effort to get the business, and then to actually figure out the most efficient way to get the products from point A to point B. And even at the latest Super Bowl, my company, C.H. Robinson, actually was responsible, because it's Minnesota-based, is where the headquarters are. So they actually were the reason a lot of the stuff actually got to the Super Bowl. So that's just an example. It's just all the things, I guess, that people really kind of take for granted is really what our business is.
Yeah, man. I remember I took a supply chain or like it was like supply chain management and logistics class, and I didn't do too well, but it is unbelievable. It is
Yeah.
unbelievable, like all the behind the scenes stuff that we don't even realize to get from point A to point B. It truly is. So the next one is, what's your best piece of overall business advice? So not necessarily industry specific.
I'd say just the best advice would be ask questions. Especially, I'm relatively new at the job I'm working at. And there's a lot of trading rules, and there's a lot of ways you have to interact with other reps in the marketplace, trying to get carriers and working with the carriers. And there was no way I would have any idea what if I just read my manual. Like, I'm constantly asking my mentor and my managers questions all day long, like nonstop. And that's kind of the thing that's kind of hard sometimes. I think a lot of people sometimes get intimidated and are afraid to ask questions because they think it makes them look stupid or whatever. But it's really important just to ask as many questions as possible. I think that's one of the things that I've really prided myself on in my professional career, is just asking a ton of questions. Even if you think you're being annoying, because in the long run, the more information you know, the more of an asset you're going to be for whatever organization you're working for. So it's definitely good to know all the information. But I mean, obviously, when you ask a question, you don't want to be asking the same question multiple times. But you definitely want to make sure you're retaining the information. But definitely, just I would say asking questions is the number one advice I would say.
And if you could give even your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
Younger self, I'd say never make excuses. I think it's really easy today in today's society to always compare yourself to other people. So like, oh, I can't apply for this job because there's other people that are way more qualified. They went to a better business school than me, or they have a better personality than me, or they have a better networking than me. I mean, all day long, I feel like, and I'm definitely guilty of it, just we kind of sit and we kind of compare ourselves to other people. And really everybody's on very different life trajectories and doing all these different things with their lives. And it's really unfair to compare ourselves to other people. So I would just tell myself, like, no matter what it is in life, like, there's a cute girl, you want to go talk to her? Yeah, do it. You shouldn't make an excuse. If you want to go for that job, go for it. There's no reason not to go for it. I mean, if you think you're qualified and you really want it, just to go for it. You can't sit there and be in your own head about reasons that you shouldn't. There should be reasons why you should.
And in your opinion, what is the key to happiness?
Key to happiness. I'd say the key to happiness is just like harmony with fellow people. I think I'm a big believer in just working together in perfectly selfless environments. And when you really get a good group of people that truly cares about the group more than the individual, it really is something incredible. I've been fortunate to be a part of groups like that throughout my life, and it's always been the greatest. And I really think that is the key to happiness, when everybody's just working together, everybody cares about each other, everyone genuinely wants everyone else to succeed. And it creates a really good environment. I think that's really the key to making sure that individuals succeed, and then also making sure that the group as a whole therefore succeeds.
And what is the best book that you've read, and what was the number one thing you learned from that?
Best book I read. I'd say it's a book called It's Your Ship. It's written by a Navy captain. His name is Captain Michael Brashoff. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And he was in charge of one of the most successful Navy vessels in the Navy's history, the USS Benfold. And the entire book just basically documents his leadership strategy and how he ran the ship. And really the key to his success was just putting himself on the level of the people below him. He didn't try to act like he was better than everybody else. He would sit in the mess hall with the crew. He wouldn't isolate himself in the cabin deck. If he noticed people were having issues with the rules, he wouldn't try to punish them more. He'd try to figure out what makes them tick and then set them up to succeed rather than set them up to fail and punish them. So it really is an interesting way to look at leadership, and how I feel like sometimes leaders today can get a little detached from the people they're in charge of. It's just a lot more hands-on approach. It's definitely left an impact on me after I read that book.
And what is your favorite quote and why?
Favorite quote and why? I definitely say it's the Wayne Gretzky, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. I mean, I just think that's a very telling quote. And it also kind of goes along with the advice I give myself, is not to make excuses. Because if you really don't go for your dreams, if you don't go for things that you want to achieve, there's no way you'll know if you don't get it. It's always better to know for sure that you're not going to get something, or know that you're for sure not qualified, rather than guessing your whole life, oh, should I have gone for that? Should I have done this? And I think it's just really important that people just go for exactly what they want to go for, and not be worried about rejection or any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, man, I agree. Dude, thank you so much for coming on. The last one I have for you before we let you go is, where's the best place for our audience to find you online?
LinkedIn's probably the best place. Just look me up, John Demos, Demos. Probably the best place to find me.
Perfect, brother. Thanks again.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, man.
The podcast you just heard was published with Anchor. Got something you want to say to the creator of this show? Send them a voice message using the Anchor app, free for iOS and Android.